The last time I bought a car, I walked in with a number written on the back of my hand in pen, 41,200. I had done the research. I knew the invoice price. I knew the incentives. I knew what people in my zip code had actually paid the week before. I thought, uninterceptable. 40 minutes later, I was sitting in a small room in the back, holding a bottle of water I did not remember accepting, agreeing to a number that was not 41,200. And the strange part, the part that stayed with me for months, was that I could not tell you where it happened. There was no moment, no single point where I gave in. It was more like waking up at the bottom of a staircase with no memory of the steps. I spent the next 2 years figuring out what those steps were. And what I found is that the room I was sitting in was not a sales office. It was an interrogation room. And almost every technique that had been used on me could be traced back to the same behavioral science that federal interrogators use to make a hardened suspect confess. By the end of this, you are going to see that entire room the way the person on the other side of the desk sees it. You will know which chair they want you in. You will know the exact moment they decide how much you are going to overpay. And I am going to give you one sentence near the end that makes a veteran salesman quietly understand he has lost. But it starts with the room, because the interrogation begins before anyone says a word to you. Every dealership has 2 spaces. There is the showroom, which is bright and open and designed to feel like freedom, and there is the small room in the back, which the salesman calls the office, and everyone who has ever worked there calls the box. 2 chairs on your side, 1 on theirs, a door that closes, and a temperature kept deliberately a degree or 2 cooler than the floor. That temperature is not an accident, and I am going to come back to who else keeps their room slightly too cold. Because when I tell you, it is going to reframe every dealership you have ever walked into. The person who understood the box better than anyone did not work at a dealership. A journalist named Chandler Phillips went undercover in the early 2000s, took a job selling cars, and wrote the whole thing down in a series called Confessions of a Car Salesman. He documented the machine from the inside, and the central discovery was this: the friendly showroom is a stage. The real event happens in the box. Everything before the box is designed to get you into it, and everything inside the box is designed to keep you there until you sign. So the first principle is the simplest. The room is not neutral. It was built to move you. And the moving starts with a bottle of water. You walk onto the lot, and within about 90 seconds, someone greets you. Hold on to that 90 seconds. I will come back to why it is specifically that fast. They are warm. They offer you coffee or a bottle of water. That water is not hospitality. It is the opening move, and it rests on the work of a psychologist named Robert Cialdini, who spent years studying a single principle he called reciprocity. What he found is almost unnerving in how reliable it is. When someone gives you something, anything, even something tiny, even something you did not ask for, a small debt opens up inside you. A quiet pressure to return the favor, and the size of the gift barely matters. In one well-known study, waiters increased their tips significantly just by leaving a single mint with the bill, 1 mint. And here is the part the dealership understands perfectly. The person who takes the gift almost never notices the debt. They just feel a few minutes later slightly more agreeable, slightly more reluctant to say no. I told you it works, even if you do not drink it, and here is why. Declining the water feels rude, so most people accept it just to avoid the discomfort of saying no, which means that in the first 60 seconds before a single price is discussed, the salesman has already trained you to take the path of least resistance, and every technique that follows is built on that one trained instinct. Now, the 90 seconds. Why that fast? Because the greet is not a hello, it is a read. In the trade, they call it qualifying. And the cover story is that they are figuring out which car suits your needs. What is actually happening is a rapid behavioral assessment, the same read an interrogator performs when a suspect first sits down. How do you carry yourself? Do you hold eye contact or avoid it? What did you drive onto the lot? Something tired or something you clearly love? Are you alone, which means you decide, or with a partner, which means there are two locks to pick instead of one? Are you glancing anxiously at the price tags or walking like you own the place? By the time your handshake ends, the salesman has already formed a hypothesis about the only question that matters, not which car you want, the largest number he can move you to accept. And that is the reframe the whole video turns on. A car negotiation is not a sale, it is an interrogation. The interrogator is not trying to find out whether you are guilty of anything. He is trying to find out a single number, your ceiling, using techniques refined by people whose actual job was extracting confessions. And the good news, the entire reason this video exists is that none of these techniques survive being named out loud. So let us start naming them. The first weapon is the one untrained people cannot survive. Silence. You ask the price. The salesman gives you a number and then he stops. He looks at you, pleasantly, patiently, and the silence stretches until it becomes unbearable. Because here is a fact interrogators have exploited for decades. Human beings cannot sit in silence during a tense moment. It feels like something has broken, and we are the ones who have to fix it. So we fill it. And what we fill it with is almost always a concession. You say, well, that is more than I was hoping to spend. You think you push back. You did the opposite. You just told him you will pay it. You handed him your ceiling into a silence he built on purpose. The FBI's former lead international kidnapping negotiator, Chris Voss, built his career on this exact tool. He called it the deliberate pause. Ask, then say nothing, and let the emptiness do the work, because the other side will fill it, and what they fill it with is the truth they meant to keep. Voss used this across a table from people holding hostages. The salesman uses the same instrument to move you $4,000. And this one you can pick up and turn around. When a salesman names a number and goes quiet, go quiet back. Let the pressure he built settle onto his side of the desk. He has a quota. He has a manager watching. He has a genuine fear that you are about to stand and walk. The silence works on him exactly the way it was built to work on you. Whoever speaks first loses. Silence is only the entry point. The technique that does the real damage has a name, and it has cost more people more money than every other tactic combined. Anchoring. Here is the experiment. In the early 1970s, two psychologists named Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky ran something that should genuinely unsettle you. They sat people in front of a wheel of fortune, secretly rigged to land only on 10 or on 65. They spun it, let the person see the number, then asked an unrelated question about percentages. The people who saw 65 gave dramatically higher answers than the people who saw 10. A number everyone knew was random, a carnival wheel, still bent their judgment. Sit with that. A number you know is meaningless still drags your sense of reality toward it. Now look at a dealership. The sticker on the window is an anchor. The first offer is an anchor. The monthly payment they lead with is an anchor. Every number they place in front of you first is a rigged wheel, set there to pull your sense of reasonable toward their side before you have opened your mouth. The counter separates the people who get taken from the people who walk out grinning. You anchor first. You do not ask what they want for the car. You arrive knowing your number, place it on the table early and calmly, and make them negotiate away from you. This is the hinge that every honest breakdown of how to negotiate with the car dealer circles back to, because everything turns on it. Whoever sets the anchor sets the range. If you let them set it, you are fighting inside a cage built by a man whose paycheck is the size of that cage. Here is one almost nobody sees coming. The test drive is not there to help you evaluate the car. It is there to start a psychological process that Cialdini called commitment and consistency. The principle is this: once a person takes a small step towards something, they feel a powerful, mostly invisible pressure to keep their later actions consistent with that step. Get someone to agree to something tiny, and the larger agreement becomes far easier to extract. Interrogators use it constantly. Get the subject to confirm small, harmless facts first, and the rhythm of agreement carries them toward the admission that matters. Watch how the dealership runs it. The test drive routes you past your own house sometimes. So you picture the car in your driveway. They ask you to imagine your family in it. And near the end, they ask a question that sounds innocent. If we could get the numbers where you need them, is this the car you would drive home today? That question is the trap. Say yes, and you have made a small public commitment. And every negotiating instinct you have afterward is now fighting against your own need to stay consistent with it. You will bargain softer because backing out now would mean contradicting yourself, and people hate contradicting themselves more than they hate overpaying. The counter is to keep every small yes provisional. The car is fine. You are still deciding. You would need to see a real out-the-door number in writing before you would call it the one. Refuse to plant the flag, and the consistency pressure has nothing to hold on to. Now, the most expensive move on the floor, and it is so smooth you have almost certainly fallen for it without knowing. It is the moment the conversation changes one word. It stops being about what the car costs and becomes about what you can afford per month. That shift feels like help. It is the most dangerous move in the building because the monthly payment is a magician's box with 4 hidden compartments, and you are watching only one. They can lower the payment by stretching the loan from 60 months to 84, less each month. Thousands more overall. They can lower the payment while raising the price. They can lower the payment and quietly fold in a warranty, a protection package, a fabric coating, a set of add-ons, and the number at the bottom barely moves so you barely notice. A comfortable monthly payment can hide $4,000 or $5,000 of pure profit, engineered precisely to do exactly that. And underneath it is an interrogation technique intelligence officers call minimization. You shrink the thing you want accepted until it feels survivable. In a real interrogation, minimization is how you get the confession. You make the enormous admission feel small and manageable. On the floor, it sounds like it is only $40 more a month. That is basically a couple of coffees. $40 a month for 84 months is over $3,000. He did not say $3,000. He said a cup of coffee. That is a trained tactic aimed at your wallet. The counter is total. You negotiate the out-the-door price, the entire number, taxes, fees, everything as one figure, and you say nothing about financing, your trade-in, or a monthly payment until that price is locked and written down. 3 separate negotiations, 3 sealed boxes, never allowed to touch. Your trade-in is its own conversation. Your financing is its own conversation. And you arrive with your own bank's rate already in your pocket, so their financing must beat a real number instead of a warm feeling. The instant they braid the 3 threads into one soothing monthly figure, you have found where the interrogation lives. Let me show you the actual worksheet, because once you have seen it, you cannot unsee it. It is a piece of paper divided into 4 squares: trade-in value, purchase price, down payment, monthly payment, and the entire purpose of that layout is to let the salesman work all 4 numbers at once, moving profit between the squares while your attention stays locked on whichever one you care about most. You care about the monthly payment? Fine. He drops it and quietly claws the money back in the purchase price square and the trade-in square. You care about your trade? He inflates it on paper and buries the giveaway in a longer loan term you did not notice. The four square exists so that no single number ever tells the truth, because your eye can only guard one square at a time, and there are four of them moving. This is a shell game, and the counter is the same as the shell game's counter. You refuse to let the shells move together, one square at a time. Price first, settled and written, before the word trade-in is ever spoken. When he tries to write in all four at once, you put your pen on the purchase price and you say, "We are only talking about this square right now." Stop for a second, because I have been giving you studies and rooms and worksheets, and I want to make this personal because it is about to be. Think about the last big thing you bought and walked away from feeling faintly uneasy, a little like you had been steered, but unable to point at where. That feeling was not paranoia. That was you detecting the machinery without the words to name it. Everything in this video is just vocabulary for something you have already felt in your body. You were never foolish. You were being anchored and reciprocated and paused into agreement, and you simply did not have the map. Now you have the map. And the second half is where it gets sharper. Here is a cruel one, and it runs on the same research as anchoring. Kahneman and Tversky also proved that human beings feel the pain of losing something roughly twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining the same thing. They called it loss aversion. We will fight harder to keep something than we ever fought to get it. The dealership weaponizes this with a move called the takeaway. Just as you are getting comfortable, the salesman hesitates, maybe frowns, says he is not sure that particular trim is still available. Let me go check. Or, honestly, at that price, I am not certain my manager will approve it. Suddenly, the car you were calmly evaluating might be slipping away, and the thing you did not even have yet now feels like a loss you have to prevent. And people who feel something being taken away stop negotiating and start grabbing. The counter is to genuinely mean it when you say you will walk. The takeaway only works if the fear of loss is stronger than your willingness to leave. If you have 3 other dealerships lined up, and you always should, the car being unavailable is not a loss, it is Tuesday. The person willing to lose the deal cannot be moved by the threat of losing the deal. The last technique is the cruelest because it works best on the kindest people. It is the salesman who stands and goes to fight the manager for you. He comes back a little defeated, a little conspiratorial, leans in, tells you he really went to bat, got them as low as they will possibly go, that honestly this is between you and him now against the guys upstairs. And your resistance melts into gratitude, and you do not want to let him down after he fought so hard. Almost none of it was real. Interrogators call this one the false friend or the good cop, the man who appears to be on your side against the system, whose whole function is to convert your resistance into loyalty. And there is a formal version of it dealers call the turnover, or the TO. When you resist, your friendly salesman is quietly replaced or joined by a manager, someone more experienced, more relentless. And the trick is that the manager can push hard precisely because your original salesman already spent an hour making you feel like the two of you were a team. The debt that started with a bottle of water has now grown into something that feels like friendship, and you cannot negotiate hard against a friend. That is the entire point. Dissolving it takes one quiet sentence to yourself. This man is not my friend. This is his job, and he is remarkable at it. No anger, just the refusal to mistake a technique for a friendship. I promised you the sentence that makes a veteran salesman understand he has lost. Here it is. You look at him calmly and say, I understand these are the tactics and I am not upset by them, but I would like the out the door price in writing and then I will decide. Watch his face. In one sentence, you have done 3 things a mark never does. You name that, you can see the machine. You remove the emotion he needs to steer you, and you move the whole conversation onto paper where none of the tricks, not the silence, not the anchor, not the coffee cup minimization, not the takeaway, not the friendship can follow. You just walked out of the box while still sitting in the chair. Here is the last thing, and it is not what you think. Most of these salespeople are not villains. Most are working brutal hours for thin pay inside a machine that punishes them when you win. The tactics are not proof that the person across the desk is a bad person. They are the water the whole industry swims in, absorbed from training, from the floor, from managers who learn them from managers, all of it flowing from the same behavioral science the interrogators use, none of it invented to be evil. Seeing the tactic is not an accusation, it is the line between being the subject of an interrogation and being the one person who walked in already knowing the room. And the temperature. I said I would tell you who else keeps their rooms 2 degrees too cold. Interrogators do. A subject who is slightly cold, slightly tired, slightly off balance is a subject who is easier to move. The dealership does it to you and calls it the air conditioning. So bring a jacket. Bring your own water. Set your own anchor. Keep the numbers in sealed boxes. Hand the silence back every time. Which brings me back to the number on the back of my hand. 41,200. Written in pen the day I was certain I could not be touched. I lost that day in a room I did not understand, to techniques I could not name. The second time I walked into the same kind of box in the same kind of cold, and I put a number on the table first and I gave the silence back. And when the manager came to be my new best friend, I already knew his name before he sat down. I did not write anything on my hand that time. I did not need to. The interrogation only works on someone who does not know he is being interrogated, and that is not you anymore.